Welcome back. We are now talking about web scraping part 2. We're actually in the optional part of the video. In the earlier section, just to review very briefly, we talked about how Beautiful Soup works. We talked about the HTML structure, and we looked at some basic features of Beautiful Soup and how we can use the objects in Beautiful Soup to extract HTML code. Okay. Let me be clear, based on what you've done so far, you should still be able to do a simple project in data preparation. So what we do now, optional, you only need this if you want to do something more fun, more challenging. Okay, still we're only scratching the surface, but it's nice to know some additional features so you can do some more fun projects for parsing HTML. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about in this optional video is the syntax for one of the most useful methods that we would use with Beautiful Soup, which is find all. So what you see here is, in the past we've done find all, right? We applied the method find all to the soup object, and we basically specified the tag. For example, I'm just going to go over here. You could see that I used the method find all, applied it to the soup object, and I'm basically asking it to find all tags, all anchor tags. That's denoted by A. So what we could do here is, if you look at it, find all actually allows us to do a lot more. In addition to just the tag, I can specify attributes of a tag, and I'm going to tell you what it is in a second. I can specify whether it needs to be recursive or not, and I can even try to extract HTML tags based on the actual text. Okay, for the limit and keywords, I'm going to ignore them. Find is simply it's actually it's a close relative of find all. The only difference is it's going to find the first tag. That's it. So the only difference here is the limit is not there. Here I can specify how many tags I want to retrieve, right? If I make it 1, then it's going to be equivalent to find. If I don't specify it, it's going to find everything. Okay, so limit is simply how many tags I want to find. If it's 1, then it's same as find. If I don't specify it, it's going to specify everything. Okay, so now having said that, I'm going to completely ignore keywords. If you're interested, then you should go to the Beautiful Soup documentation, and you should be able to find more information on find all tag from the left hand side. So you should navigate your way, look at the find all, and look at more examples. Okay, I'm just going to stick to most useful simple examples for our class. Okay, so the first thing we are going to do is we are going to specify attributes, right, to the tag. For example, let me navigate up here. You might notice that when I actually only specified the anchor tag, along with the anchor tag, it comes with attributes of anchor, class and ID. So each HTML tag can have multiple attributes, and if I want to be able to extract, let's say, a tag based on not only the tag but also the attribute, right, then I just simply need to specify the attribute. That's it. It's that easy. So what I do here is, as you can see, in addition to the tag, anchor tag, I also specify please extract the anchor tag for whom the ID is equal to link1, right? And if you look at the source code based on the previous video, you will actually see that there's only one tag that matches these two conditions, anchor tag with the ID of link1. Okay, so let's see what happens if I run this code. There you go, it actually extracted the anchor tag with ID equal to link1. Okay, and while I talk about this, I also want to say that it's another very useful way of representing the attribute, which is the dictionary representation. Instead of saying ID equal to open quote link1 close quote, I can actually use a dictionary. where the key would be ID in quotes and then colon, and the attribute would be the actual value of the attribute would be link1. Okay, and this is useful in case you want to use multiple attributes. For example, if I wanted to add a class, if you look at this class and I want to specify sister, then I can do that within the dictionary. On the other hand, this is going to be hard to specify multiple attributes using this representation. Okay, so we've looked at two things so far: extract the tag, find the tag using attributes. Okay, and recursive is, again, we don't have to worry about it. And if you don't touch it, then it's always true. All that it means is that it's going to go through. If you go back to the HTML representation, it just simply means it's going to go at all levels and try to find and try to find the tag that you're trying to extract. Okay, so you usually want to leave recursive to true, which means you don't have to say anything. Okay, all right. So you looked at tag, attributes, recursive. Okay, and sometimes what you might want to do is, before I talk about text, okay, I just wanted to mention that sometimes maybe you want to look for multiple tags. Okay, so again, you can use the represent to specify multiple tags. So if you go back up here, you can actually see that here's one attribute A, right? And I also want to specify, not only do I want tag A, but I also want another attribute, another tag, I'm sorry. Not only do I want the tag A, but I also want a tag title. And if you notice, if you remember, if you go all the way back up here, here is the tag title. Okay, so this somewhat this acts as like an R filter, right? It's A R title, so it's going to be listing both of these things together. But I can look for both or multiple tags in the same command. I just need to use the dictionary or the curly brackets. Okay, so I shouldn't say dictionary representation, I would say that use the curly brackets and just basically, separate them by commas. Okay, so bingo. So now you have title, which you found from the beginning, and you also have all the other tags. That's A tags. Okay, so again, useful extension if you want multiple tags in the same command. So you can just use the curly brackets and try to list all of those tags. Okay, finally, another useful attribute to know is that sometimes you may want to extract the tag surrounding a particular text, right? So what you might want to do in that case is, it's not the tag, it's the text, the textual content on the page. Just specify the text within quotes and run a find all command. I'm just going to remove this. First of all, I'm going to remove this, the length. Okay, let me just see what happens here. It's going to return this twice because in the original code this text appears twice. Okay, so let me go back up here, and you might see the text under title, right? And once here and once under the body, another title. So the text appears twice. So the end result is you're going to see this listed twice. Okay, sometimes if you're interested in a count, all you need to do is do a length, obviously, and it should tell you it occurs twice in the document. Okay, we had some useful variations of find all. Okay, and finally, if you wanted to do the ID, which we talked about before, right? So I can, instead of specifying the tag, right, I can also run this just based on attributes, right? I can do both, or I can just run them based on attributes, and you should get the result. Okay, so multiple ways of doing or multiple ways of using the find all and find methods, one of the most useful methods for the soup object. Okay, and before I finish this particular second part, I just want to say that Beautiful Soup, I mean, we already know this, transforms HTML documents into a tree of Python objects, very similar to the DOM we talked about above, right? But the good thing about Beautiful Soup is that there are only 4 types of objects that the Beautiful Soup, uses. So it's fairly easy. Once you understand the patterns, it's fairly easy for you to figure out how to manipulate Beautiful Soup objects. Okay, the first object is the object that we get when we actually run the soup command, the Beautiful Soup command. Let me explain. So when I actually apply Beautiful Soup to a HTML code, what I get out of it, the soup object, happens to be a Beautiful Soup object. This is the overarching object. Okay, and what we've been doing most of this time is a tag object. For example, once we have the soup object, then we might run the find all command, or we might run straight up soup.b, for example. Like, let me just go back up here to show you the example we've looked at before. If you recall, we ran this, basically say soup, get me the title tag from soup, and if I run this, I'm going to get this, right? So we got a specific value for this command, and if I actually change this to say what type of object is this, right, it's going to tell you it's a tag object. So it's not like a string, it's actually an object created by Beautiful Soup. Okay, so this again allows us to do additional manipulations to tag. What manipulations? For example, if I want to know the content of the tag, I can say I think it's string. Let me just say string. So if I say soup title.string, it's going to give me the actual text that's enclosed within the tag. Okay, so if I know the type of tag, if I know the type of object, then I can do additional manipulations to the Beautiful Soup object. Okay, so let me see what this is. This now is another third type of object called navigable string. So we started with a soup object. This is the Beautiful Soup object, and this could be a Beautiful Soup tag object, right? This is a tag object, so is this, right? Now by applying an additional function here, if I type in string, now suddenly I've converted the tag object to a navigable string, okay, where I get the string that's enclosed within the tag, right? The Dartmouth story. Okay, so that's what I try to say here with a different example. Let me go down here. So for example, instead of passing a larger HTML file, right, let me pass a very simple HTML code, one line, b class equal to, in quotes, boldest, extremely bold, close b. Okay, so I'm passing this to the Beautiful Soup so that it can be converted to soup object. Okay, and so I'm going to comment this out, and as you probably know already, if I say what type is this, it should tell me it's a Beautiful Soup object. This is the overarching object, right? If I say print soup, I actually get back what I initially passed in. Slight variation because it's going to add HTML body, but this is what I passed in and this is what I get back. Okay, now I'm going to comment this out. So how do I get a tag from this Beautiful Soup object? Simple. I need to basically put a dot and look for the specific tag I'm interested in. In this case, it's quite simple. There's only one tag in the file. I mean, in the file that I passed. Of course, now it's got body and HTML, but the main tag here is b. So I can say soup.b. Okay. So if I run this, let me run this, and then I need to print tag. I forgot to print it. Print tag, right? So I actually see the tag printed, and if I say print type tag, right, it tells you that it's a tag object. Okay, so now we have the soup object, type object, right? if I wanted it to be tag dot string, print tag string, it's going to print extremely bold, which is the text inside, right? And what type is it? That should be navigable string. Okay, hopefully this is correct. Yeah, so it's a navigable string. And the fourth object comment, let's not worry about it, but mostly this is all you need for most of your manipulations, specifically the tag object. Okay, and let me go down here, and this is what I say: tag.string, type tag.string, which is what we did just now. And the nice thing about having these tags, right, the tag object specifically, especially the tag object, okay, what I mean by that is soup.b or soup.title, soup.html, whatever it is. Once you get a tag object, the nice thing is I can actually apply additional manipulations. For example, I can try to look for the children of the tags, descendants of tags, siblings of the tags. Okay, so again, I'm going to encourage you to go back to the beautiful soup documentation, look at going down, going up, going sideways. Okay, so I mean, if you have time, of course you can also look at back and forth, but I would say that the most important thing would be going sideways and going down. Okay, so let me just click on one here, going down. It actually has a pretty fairly detailed description of how you would need to navigate it. They give you examples. Okay, so I'm going to encourage you to look at the examples here. Basically what it means is that because of the tree structure, I'm going to go back here. Okay, because it's a tree structure, I would say that title is the child of head, right? Head is a child of HTML. HTML is a parent of head, right? HTML is a parent of body tag. Okay, and H1 and P, which are children of body, right? And they are also siblings. Okay, so knowing these relationships makes it easy for you to use very simple commands. For example, down here, so I can add something like .children, and I should be able to find the children of the tag. Okay, so again, I'm going to encourage you to read it. Only again, if you're only interested in doing more advanced processing, it's not necessary for our projects, but again, very useful. I mean, this easily allows you to just going to go back here and say that knowing this, going down, going up, and going sideways really helps you navigate your way around the HTML code. Okay, and the examples I have here, I'm going to go down here. Okay, again, I'm not going to run them. Okay, but I would encourage you to run this and see what happens and try to see if you can understand it. Okay, and if you do not understand the content of the code, we can talk when we meet. All right, so the code here, right, I'm just gonna comment this out: code to print contents, right, children, and this is very similar but a bit more detailed, so I can more clarity. This should give you a better understanding of how the tags look like. And I think the documentation here also has reference to the same code that I have there. It explains the output as well. Okay, so I'm not going to go over it. I'm going to ask you to read it. This is only if you're interested in accessing tags that are next to the tag that you're able to extract. Okay, again, I want to emphasize this. If you're not sure if you understand this, you can either ignore this, but if you need this, talk to me during office hours. Okay, so this brings to conclusion the second part of Webscaping 2. And this video obviously is everything is optional. And thank you.